Vega stood at the back of the conference room, biting the inside of her cheek until she tasted copper. The projector illuminated Imani's face as she flipped through the presentation deck, Vega's presentation deck, with casual confidence. 3 months of sleepless nights condensed into 64 slides that could revolutionize patient care across their entire hospital network. As you can see, Imani gestured to the chart showing administrative bloat compared to clinical staffing. I've identified critical inefficiencies in our operational structure. The word bounced around Vega's skull, like a ricocheting bullet. Vega's colleague Ellis leaned in, whispering, "She didn't change a single comma, not even the font. She literally just erased your name." The healthcare strategy deck represented everything Vega had worked for, interviewing night shift nurses who hadn't seen a raise in 3 years while administrator salaries ballooned, digging through patient satisfaction scores that plummeted as wait times increased, mapping staff to patient ratios that violated best practices, while executive retreats doubled in budget. Imani clicked to the next slide. My analysis shows we can redirect approximately $18 million from administrative overhead directly to patient care without sacrificing operational quality. The department heads nodded appreciatively. Director Reed actually applauded. Nobody looked at Vega, pressed against the back wall, hands trembling. "When did you have time to conduct all these interviews?" asked Tristan, from Human Resources. Imani didn't miss a beat. "I prioritized. I know how to manage my time effectively." Heat crawled up Vega's neck. Last month, she'd mentioned her research findings to Tristan over coffee. He knew. They all knew, but nobody spoke up. Imani continued, "The board presentation is tomorrow at 9. I expect department heads to review these materials tonight and be prepared to support my recommendations." Ellis gripped Vega's arm, fingernails digging in. "Say something. Now, before it's too late." But Vega stayed silent, watching Imani collect congratulations like trophies. The strategy was brilliant, unassailable. Really, because Vega had been meticulous. She'd accounted for every dollar, every staffing gap, every patient outcome metric. It was the culmination of her healthcare economics degree and 5 years climbing through the ranks of this dysfunctional system. "I'll pass these materials to the executive team," Imani announced, closing her laptop. Her eyes found Vega's for one electric moment. Not apologetic, not even triumphant, just coolly assessing whether Vega posed any threat. Imani's heels clicked across the tile as she exited. The room dispersed, colleagues avoiding Vega's gaze. Ellis grabbed Vega's shoulders. "What are you going to do? She just stole your entire career trajectory." Vega's voice came out strangely calm. "Nothing. Let her present it." Ellis's face contorted. "Have you completely lost your mind? That's your work, your research, your future." A small smile played at the corner of Vega's mouth. "I know, and I want her to present every bit of it to the board, exactly as it is." "But why?" Vega picked up her notebook. "Trust me, I'm counting on it. Before we continue this shocking workplace betrayal, I want to thank you for spending time with this story. If you're enjoying it so far, please hit that like button. It really helps others discover stories like this one. Consider subscribing if you want more tales of corporate intrigue and sweet revenge. Now, let's dive deeper into how this shocking situation came to be and what Vega plans to do about it. My name is Vega Mercer. I'm 31, analytical to a fault, and according to my last performance review, pathologically detail-oriented. I've never been good at office politics. I believe results should speak for themselves, which is probably why after 5 years at Lakeside Regional Health Network, I'm still a senior analyst, while others have leapfrogged to management. When our patient satisfaction scores crashed for the 3rd consecutive quarter, administration blamed everything from understaffing to the new electronic medical record system. Nobody wanted to address the elephant trampling through our hospital: bloated administration, consuming resources, while patient care positions remained unfilled. I began investigating independently, staying late, compiling staffing ratios, tracking budget allocations. 3 months ago, I pitched my project to my director, Zoe. "This could be career suicide," she warned, but approved my project anyway. "The executive team won't appreciate being told they're the problem." I presented preliminary findings in department meetings. People noticed. Then, Imani Archer noticed. As chief operating officer, Imani commanded attention. Tall, impeccably dressed, with a voice that could either charm or cut depending on her mood. She joined the network 18 months ago from a prestigious East Coast system, bringing an intimidating resume and rumors about how she'd climbed so quickly. After my third presentation, she approached me. "Fascinating work, Vega," she said, maintaining uncomfortable eye contact. "Send me your research files. I think you're onto something significant." I was ecstatic. Finally, someone with power was listening. I sent everything: interview transcripts, statistical analyses, benchmarking against comparable systems. Every week, Imani requested updates. I complied eagerly, believing I'd found a champion for organizational change. Meanwhile, strange things happened. My scheduled meetings with leadership were suddenly canceled. My access to certain financial databases was temporarily restricted due to system updates. My emails about the project went unanswered. Last Thursday, I received an all-staff email from Imani. "Exciting news. I'll be presenting a comprehensive operational strategy to the board Tuesday. This initiative identifies critical inefficiencies in our system and proposes actionable solutions to redirect resources to patient care." Attached was my presentation with a new title page: Operational Excellence Initiative, presented by Imani Archer, Chief Operating Officer. My name appeared nowhere in the 64 slides. That's when I made a decision that surprised even me. While buried in financial records for my research, I'd noticed peculiarities: budget transfers from critical care departments to vaguely labeled administrative accounts, patient education funding mysteriously reallocated to special projects, grant money for community outreach disappearing into miscellaneous expense categories, all under cost centers Imani controlled. These weren't random. They followed patterns, always during audit periods, always just under thresholds, requiring additional approval, always moving money from patient care to administration. Too systematic to be coincidental. I'd created a separate analysis tracking these anomalies, building visualizations that made the pattern unmistakable without making explicit accusations. This analysis lived in slide 47 of my presentation, the presentation Imani had claimed as her own, the presentation she would deliver to the board of directors, the CEO, and the chief financial officer tomorrow morning. "You have to tell someone," Ellis insisted, as we walked to the parking garage that evening. "Zoe would back you up." "Imani would claim I'm just bitter about her improving my work," I replied. "She outranks me by several universes. Nobody's going to risk their career to defend mine. So you're just giving up? Letting her steal your work and your promotion opportunity?" I unlocked my car. "Ellis, in all the years you've known me, have I ever just given up on anything?" Understanding dawned slowly on Ellis's face. "What did you do?" "Nothing, yet," I smiled. "But tomorrow will be interesting." That night, I didn't sleep. I obsessively checked my presentation file, confirming slide 47 remained intact, with its damning visualization of financial irregularities. Would Imani review the entire presentation before delivering it? Would she notice what I had embedded there? Or would her arrogance lead her to present material she hadn't fully examined? Morning arrived with a storm that matched my mood. Thunder rattled windows as I dressed carefully in my most professional outfit: charcoal dress, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back severely. Today wasn't about being approachable. I arrived early, slipping into the back of the boardroom before most members arrived. The chief financial officer, Damon, nodded at me. "Vega, didn't expect to see you here. Just observing," I replied neutrally. "Heard about your project. Good work." I managed a tight smile as board members filtered in, followed by Imani in a crimson suit that screamed authority. She faltered momentarily upon seeing me, then recovered, arranging her materials at the presentation podium. "What are you doing here?" she hissed when she passed my chair. "Supporting my work," I whispered back. "Someone should be here who understands the details, don't you think?" Uncertainty flickered in her eyes before confidence reasserted itself. "Your presence is unnecessary, but suit yourself." The CEO called the meeting to order. Imani launched into my presentation, commanding the room with practiced authority. "Our network faces unprecedented financial challenges," she began. "I've undertaken a comprehensive analysis of our operational structure and identified critical inefficiencies." I watched board members' faces as she navigated through my slides, using my words, my research, my insights. She moved confidently through staffing analyses, patient outcome metrics, capacity utilization statistics. Then she approached the financial section. "Moving to financial analysis," Imani said, clicking forward. I've identified several critical budget reallocations that will optimize our operational efficiency. The board members leaned forward, interest peaked. The CEO adjusted his glasses. Damon, the CFO, took notes with unusual intensity. I sat motionless, counting slides in my head. 43, 44, 45. Imani sailed through complex budget charts with practiced confidence, explaining my meticulous financial models as if she'd created them herself. Her voice remained steady, authoritative, only I noticed her pace accelerating slightly. 46. Imani clicked forward again, and there it was. Slide 47. My carefully constructed visualization of budget transfers. 6 months of peculiar financial movements displayed in an elegant, undeniable pattern. Money flowing from patient care, community outreach, and clinical education into administrative, special projects under Imani's direct control. These strategic reallocations, Imani continued smoothly, gesturing to the screen, represent optimization of resource distribution across. Excuse me, interrupted Damon, the CFO. He leaned forward, squinting at the visualization. Can you explain this pattern? Why do funds consistently move from patient care budgets to administrative special projects during quarterly audit periods? Imani's rhythm faltered. Well, operational needs fluctuate based on. But these transfers, Damon persisted, standing to approach the screen. They all originate from critical care departments, pediatric services, and community health programs. And they all terminate in administrative accounts under your direct supervision. The boardroom temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Imani blinked rapidly, finally looking, really looking, at the slide she'd been presenting. This section requires additional context, she said, attempting to click forward. No, I'd like to understand this particular slide better. The CEO interjected, his voice dangerously quiet, especially since these transfers coincide precisely with our audit schedule, almost as if timed to minimize detection. Board members exchanged glances. I remained absolutely still, barely breathing. Imani's composure cracked slightly. This particular analysis might contain some speculative elements that require further verification before. Did you prepare this analysis, Imani? Asked the board chairwoman, Helena. I supervised the overall project, with input from my team, Imani replied, avoiding my direction entirely. Helena removed her reading glasses. That's interesting, because I received preliminary findings from Vega Mercer 3 weeks ago that looked remarkably similar to what you're presenting today. The room went silent. All eyes turned to me. Vega, Helena continued, would you care to clarify? Standing slowly, I maintained a neutral expression while my heart raced. The strategy presentation was my project, initiated 3 months ago with Director Zoe's approval. I conducted all research, interviews, and analysis personally. That's not entirely accurate, Imani cut in. Vega provided raw data that I substantially refined and developed into this strategic initiative. Then you can explain slide 47, asked Damon, pointing to the screen. Because these patterns suggest systematic diversion of patient care funds to administrative accounts under your authority. Imani's face hardened. I think Vega has deliberately misrepresented normal budget fluctuations to undermine my position. This is clearly a manipulation of data, driven by professional jealousy. Manipulation? I echoed, maintaining composure. Every transfer shown here is documented in our financial system. I simply visualized existing data. Nothing is fabricated or misrepresented. The room tensed as Imani's eyes locked onto mine, recognition dawning that I'd anticipated this moment, planned for it, even. Perhaps, the CEO suggested, we should take a 15-minute break to gather additional information. As board members filed out, Imani cornered me in the hallway. You set me up, she hissed, staying just beyond earshot of lingering executives. I did nothing of the sort, I replied calmly. You took my presentation. I simply let you present it, all of it. You deliberately planted that visualization to ambush me. I included factual financial analysis in my own work. You chose to claim it as yours, without reviewing it thoroughly. That's not an ambush. That's your mistake. Her eyes narrowed. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I've destroyed people far more established than you. Maybe, I acknowledged. But none of them had 3 months of your financial activities meticulously documented. Imani's expression shifted from anger to calculation. What do you want? A promotion? Recognition? Name it. I want nothing from you, I replied honestly. The board already has the information they need. Our standoff ended when Helena approached. Vega, would you join us in the small conference room? Bring your laptop and original files, please. For the next hour, I walked the CEO, CFO, and board chair through my research process, showing original documents, interview notes, and the evolution of my analysis. I explained how I'd first noticed financial irregularities while researching administrative overhead. Why didn't you report these concerns through proper channels? Helena asked. Initially, they were just patterns I couldn't explain, I answered. Once I understood their significance, I realized taking my concerns to someone who might be involved would be unwise. So you embedded the analysis in a presentation you expected Imani to deliver to us, Damon concluded, impressed despite himself. I created a comprehensive strategy that included all relevant financial findings. I clarified carefully. When that strategy was repurposed, I chose not to interfere. The CEO rubbed his temples. We have two serious issues here: potential financial impropriety and a senior executive claiming subordinates' work as her own. 3 issues, Helena corrected. We also have a broken system where talented employees feel they can't safely report concerns. When we returned to the boardroom, Imani sat alone, reviewing something on her phone. The remaining board members filtered back in. Conversation hushed. In light of concerning information, the CEO announced, "We're postponing the remainder of this presentation. Imani, please report to my office immediately following this meeting. Damon will be initiating a comprehensive financial audit of all transfers identified in this analysis." Imani's mask of confidence finally cracked. This is a misunderstanding that's being blown completely out of proportion. If you would allow me to explain. Save it for the audit, Damon interrupted. We'll be reviewing every transaction. As the meeting disbanded, I gathered my materials quietly, avoiding eye contact with Imani, whose rage was palpable across the room. Ellis appeared in the doorway, eyebrows raised in silent question. I nodded slightly, following them into the hallway. Well? Ellis whispered urgently. They're auditing her financial activities, I murmured. And she's meeting with the CEO right now, too. Ellis exhaled. I can't believe it worked. But what happens to you now? She'll make your life hell. If she's still here to do it, I pointed out. We paused as raised voices echoed from the CEO's office down the hall. You need to tell me what else happened in there, Ellis insisted, as we walked toward the cafeteria. Everything. I hesitated. The board knows the strategy was mine. They know about the financial irregularities. That's all that matters for now. But as we settled with our coffee, my phone buzzed with a meeting request from Helena. Subject: Executive Strategic Planning Position. Discussion. Executive. Ellis's eyes widened. Is that what I think it is? Before I could answer, commotion erupted across the cafeteria. Imani stormed through, security personnel following at a respectful distance. Her face was flushed, movements stiff with barely controlled fury. As she passed our table, her eyes locked onto mine. Enjoy it while it lasts, she said, voice low and deadly. This isn't over. Then she was gone, heels striking the floor like hammer blows as security escorted her toward the exit. Ellis whistled low. What did you actually find in those financial records, Vega? I sipped my coffee, watching Imani disappear through the main doors. That's the interesting part of the story. It started 6 weeks ago, when I was reviewing budget allocations for the pediatric oncology department. I grew up believing that hard work and honesty would be enough, that excellence would always be recognized and rewarded. My parents, both teachers in the struggling school district of our small Midwestern town, had instilled those values. Your integrity is the one thing nobody can take from you, my mother always said. Yet there I was, watching Imani being escorted from the building while clutching my meeting invitation from the board chair, feeling not triumph but a strange hollowness. This wasn't how I'd imagined my career advancing. My journey to this moment had begun long before Imani stole my work. It started in college, where I discovered my passion for healthcare economics, the fascinating intersection of mathematical precision and human compassion. While other students pursued glamorous specialties, I became obsessed with making healthcare systems work better, making limited resources save more lives. Lakeside Regional Health Network had hired me straight out of graduate school. I started as a junior analyst, tackling increasingly complex projects, earning a reputation for thoroughness and unwavering attention to detail. What my colleagues called obsessiveness, I called necessary rigor. When patient satisfaction scores began plummeting last year, I saw not just a problem, but an opportunity to apply my skills to something meaningful. Patients were waiting longer, receiving less attention, experiencing more complications, while administrative costs ballooned. Nobody wants to touch this, my mentor Zoe had warned when I proposed investigating the administrative bloat. You'll make powerful enemies. Patients are suffering, I'd replied simply. That matters more than office politics. So I dug in. Evenings, weekends, holidays. I poured myself into the analysis. When marriages between datasets revealed disturbing patterns in resource allocation, I couldn't look away. Money systematically siphoned from patient care into administrative black holes. And at the center of those patterns, Imani Archer. You're playing with fire, Ellis had cautioned when I shared my concerns. She's connected. Board members vacation with her. The CEO brought her in personally. Then I'll be extremely careful about how I proceed, I'd promised. The strategy I developed was genuine. A clear roadmap to redirect resources from bloated administration to patient care. But embedded within it was also the evidence of what looked increasingly like financial misconduct. When Imani claimed my work, stealing months of my effort, she inadvertently handed me the perfect delivery mechanism for that evidence. She would present my findings, including the damning financial analysis, with her name on it. The board would have questions she couldn't answer. The perfect trap had been set. Yet as I watched her storm out, I wondered, had I compromised my own values to expose hers? These thoughts circled as I headed to my meeting with the board chair. Helena waited in her office, silver hair immaculately styled, expression unreadable. Sit down, Vega, she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. That was quite a board meeting. Thank you for meeting with me, I said, folding my hands in my lap to keep them from fidgeting. Helena studied me with keen eyes that had evaluated countless executives over her 30-year career. Your analysis was exceptional, both the operational strategy and the other findings. I appreciate that. What I'm trying to understand, she continued, is why someone with your talents is still in an analyst position after 5 years. I shifted uncomfortably. I've always believed my work would speak for itself. Helena's laugh was short and knowing. That approach rarely succeeds in healthcare administration, or any industry. For that matter, she leaned forward. Vega, people who wait to be discovered usually stay waiting. I'm learning that, I admitted. The board was impressed today, not just with your analysis, but with your strategy. She paused, though some questioned whether you set Imani up deliberately. My stomach tightened. I included factual information in my own work. If discovering financial irregularities while researching administrative efficiency is setting someone up, then I suppose I did. Helena's expression remained neutral. The how matters less than the what, in this case. The patterns you identified are concerning enough that we've engaged external auditors. She slid a folder across the desk. This is a proposal. We'd like you to lead a new strategic initiatives team reporting directly to the board. My pulse quickened as I opened the folder. The position description outlined responsibilities far beyond my current role, with compensation to match. This was career-altering. Why me? I asked. There must be more experienced candidates. Experience isn't always the right metric. Sometimes we need people who see what others miss. Helena tapped her desk. Your analysis identified millions in potential savings while improving patient outcomes. That's rare talent. As I reviewed the offer, uncertainty crept in. And what about Imani? Helena's expression hardened. She's been suspended pending investigation. Beyond that, I can't comment on personnel matters. I nodded, though something in her tone suggested Imani's situation was more complicated than a simple suspension. I should warn you, Helena added. Accepting this position means stepping into the spotlight. Not everyone will celebrate your promotion, particularly under these circumstances. You mean people will think I schemed my way into this role? Some might, she acknowledged. Office politics are rarely fair or rational. The question is whether you're prepared for that kind of scrutiny. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Ellis. Check your email now. I need some time to consider, I told Helena, closing the folder. Of course, we'll need your decision by Monday. She stood, signaling our meeting's end. And Vega, whatever you decide, watch your back. Imani didn't reach her position without powerful allies. The warning hung between us as we shook hands. Outside, I pulled up my email and froze. The message from an anonymous account contained a single line: "You'll regret what you did today." Attached was a photo of me entering my apartment building last night. My hands trembled as I called Ellis. "Did you see it?" they asked immediately. "Yes. Where are you?" "Break room. 3rd floor. Come now." I found Ellis pacing between vending machines, their usual calm replaced with agitation. "It's not just you," they said, showing me their phone. "I got one too. For being your friend." Ellis's email contained a different photo, them leaving their parents' house last weekend, with the message, "Choose your loyalties carefully." "Who would do this?" Ellis whispered, glancing around nervously. "Imani, obviously," I replied, though something felt off. How had she gotten these photos? Had she been watching us? Should we report this? I hesitated. And say what? We received vaguely threatening emails with photos taken in public places. They'll tell us to change our passwords and be careful. Ellis ran a hand through their hair. This feels bigger than just Imani being upset about getting caught. My phone buzzed again. Another email. Same anonymous sender. "The audit won't find anything. Neither will you." "What does that mean?" Ellis asked, reading over my shoulder. A realization struck me. What if the financial patterns I found were just the surface? What if there's something else happening that I don't understand yet? Like what? I don't know. I chewed my lip. But someone's trying to scare us away from finding out. As we stood there, Director Zoe spotted us through the break room window and entered, her expression grim. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you." She glanced between us. "Is everything okay?" "Fine," I lied, just processing a lot of information. Zoe nodded sympathetically. "I heard about what happened in the board meeting. Bold move, Vega. Thanks, I think. I think. Listen, I'm headed to the executive conference call about the audit. Anything I should know before I go in?" I nearly mentioned the threatening emails, but stopped myself. Until I understood what was happening, sharing too widely felt dangerous. "Just that the pattern shows consistent movement of funds during audit periods," I said instead. "Always just under approval thresholds." Zoe made a note on her tablet. "Got it. By the way, Helena mentioned they offered you a position. News travels fast. It always does." She squeezed my arm. "For what it's worth, I think you'd be excellent. We need more people with your integrity." After she left, Ellis gave me a pointed look. "You didn't tell her about the threats." "Not yet. Something doesn't add up." I lowered my voice. "The email said the audit won't find anything. What if Imani has already covered her tracks? Or what if she's not working alone?" Ellis suggested. The thought had occurred to me too, but hearing it aloud sent a chill through me. "We need more information before we can trust anyone." "What are you thinking?" I took a deep breath. "I'm thinking I need to accept that position. It will give me access to records I can't see now." "Vega, these people are watching your apartment. Is a promotion worth that risk?" My phone buzzed with an incoming call from an unknown number. I stared at it, heart racing, then declined. "I don't think we have a choice," I said quietly. "They're already watching us. At least with the new position, I might figure out what they're hiding." "They? So you do think Imani isn't alone?" "I think." My voice cut off as I spotted someone at the end of the hallway, watching us. When I blinked, they were gone. "I think we're in deeper than we realize." 2 days later, I accepted Helena's offer. My new office, 3 floors up from my old cubicle, offered a dizzying view of the city and access to systems I'd never been authorized to use before. My first order of business, requesting complete financial records for all departments under Imani's former control. The system returned an error. Records unavailable due to ongoing audit. I called Damon, the CFO. "I need access to the financial databases for my new role." "Already working on it," he assured me. "The external auditors have temporarily restricted access. Should be resolved next week." But when I hung up, another email arrived. Some doors should stay closed. Final warning. That evening, as I packed up to leave, my new office door swung open. I looked up, expecting the cleaning crew. Instead, Zoe stood there, face ashen. "We need to talk." "Not here." "What's wrong?" She glanced nervously down the hallway. I was in the system backup archives, pulling data for the auditors. I found something about Imani and about board chair Helena. "Something doesn't make sense." My blood ran cold. "What did you find?" Zoe shook her head. "Not over email, not over phone. Meet me at Clayton Park in an hour. The boat dock. She turned to leave, then paused. And Vega? Don't tell anyone where you're going. The setting sun painted Clayton Park in eerie amber hues as I approached the boat dock. Few people remained at this hour. A couple walking their dog along the shoreline, an elderly man feeding ducks, a maintenance worker emptying trash cans. No sign of Zoe. I checked my watch. 7 minutes past our agreed meeting time. My phone showed no messages or missed calls. The breeze carried a chill that seemed to settle directly in my bones. After another 10 minutes, I tried calling Zoe. Straight to voicemail. I sent a text. At the dock. Where are you? Movement caught my eye. The maintenance worker heading in my direction. Something about his gait seemed familiar. Vega. The voice belonged to Tristan from Human Resources. Now close enough that I recognized him despite the maintenance uniform and cap. Tristan? What are you doing here? Where's Zoe? He glanced around nervously. Zoe sent me. She couldn't come. Too risky after what she found. Which was what exactly? Tristan lowered his voice. Financial transfers between offshore accounts linked to Helena and Imani. But that's just the beginning. They're part of something bigger, involving 3 board members and executives from other hospital networks. My mind raced. A kickback scheme? Think bigger. They've been systematically acquiring struggling rural hospitals through a shell investment group. They gut them, sell the valuable assets, then close them claiming financial non-viability. But that leaves entire communities without health care, I said, horrified. Exactly. Then they open a boutique outpatient centers that only serve patients with premium insurance. Tristan handed me a flash drive. Zoe pulled these financial transfers. The pattern matches what you found, but extends much further. Why didn't Zoe come herself? Tristan's expression darkened. Her office was searched this afternoon. She's being careful. He checked his watch. I should go. They monitor security badge locations. Being away from the building too long will raise flags. As he turned to leave, a question nagged me. Wait, how did Zoe get your phone number to ask you to meet me? Tristan froze momentarily. She found me in the cafeteria. Something clicked in my mind. Zoe had been in meetings all afternoon. She wouldn't have been in the cafeteria, and she certainly wouldn't have sent someone else to deliver sensitive information. I took a careful step backward. Interesting, because Zoe was in back-to-back audit meetings until 6. I know because I was copied on the calendar invite. Tristan's friendly demeanor evaporated. Give me the flash drive, Vega. What's actually on it? Nothing you need to worry about. Just hand it over, and we can both walk away from this. I clutched the drive tighter. Who sent you? Helena? Imani? You think too small, he sneered, advancing toward me. This goes beyond hospital executives playing with budgets. There are billions at stake across the healthcare landscape. Your little analysis threatened to unravel years of careful planning. I scanned the park. The couple with the dog had disappeared around a bend, the elderly man gone. No witnesses. The emails, I said, buying time as I inched toward the park path. The threats. That was you? Tristan smiled coldly. Among others, Imani may have stolen your work, but she had no idea what was hidden in your analysis. She became a liability, so you sacrificed her. Collateral damage. She served her purpose. He lunged suddenly, grabbing my wrist. Now, the drive. I reacted instinctively, smashing my free hand against his ear. He yelped, grip loosening enough for me to break away. I sprinted toward the park entrance, hearing his footsteps pounding behind me. You can't outrun this, Vega, he shouted. They're everywhere. Administration, board, regulatory agencies. You have no idea who you're up against. I reached the parking lot, fumbling for my keys, when headlights flashed nearby. A car door opened. Ellis behind the wheel. Get in, they yelled. I dove into the passenger seat as Tristan emerged from the tree line. Ellis floored the accelerator, tires screeching as we sped away. How did you know? I gasped, checking the rearview mirror. I've been tracking your location since those threats, Ellis admitted. Installed a friend finder app when you went to the restroom yesterday. I figured you might need backup. That's invasive and inappropriate and, thank you, you just saved me. Ellis gripped the steering wheel tightly. What happened back there? And why are you meeting HR in a park wearing janitor clothes? I held up the flash drive. I don't know what's on this, but people are willing to threaten me for it. And it wasn't really Tristan. I mean, it was, but he's involved in something bigger. Involved in what? I think we've stumbled onto a healthcare fraud scheme, not just at our hospital, across multiple networks. Ellis glanced at me, alarmed. What are you going to do? I stared at the flash drive. First, we need to see what's on this, but not at home, not at work, nowhere they'd expect. My cousin's internet cafe, Ellis suggested. No security cameras, pays their staff to be discreet. We can use a computer there. The cafe was nearly empty when we arrived, tucked into a booth in the back corner. The flash drive contained hundreds of files, financial transfers, property acquisitions, communications between board members and executives from 5 different healthcare networks. This is massive, Ellis whispered, scrolling through documents. They're systematically dismantling rural healthcare infrastructure for profit. One spreadsheet caught my eye, labeled LR Contingencies. It contained names of Lakeside Regional employees with notes beside each. Loyal, manageable, problem, eliminate. My name appeared under eliminate, along with Zoe's. We need to call Zoe, I said urgently. Warn her. Ellis was already dialing. The call went straight to voicemail. We should go to her house, I suggested. And say what? That HR tried to attack you in a park? That there's a conspiracy to eliminate you both? We need something concrete before involving others. I massaged my temples, thinking furiously. The external auditors, they're independent. If we bring them this information, how do you know they're not involved too? It was a fair question. Trust had become a scarce commodity. We spent hours combing through files, building a comprehensive picture of the scheme. The same investment group, Ascension Capital, appeared repeatedly, acquiring rural hospitals, stripping assets, then closing facilities. Helena and Imani were shareholders, along with executives from other networks. Among the documents was a draft press release announcing Lakeside Regional's acquisition by Ascension, scheduled for announcement next month. They're targeting our hospital next, I realized. That's why my analysis was dangerous. I was showing the board that administrative bloat was fixable, that we could be financially viable without cutting services. So, what's our move? Ellis asked. I closed my eyes, mind racing through possibilities. When I opened them again, a plan was forming. We need to move quickly, I said, and we need to be smarter than they are. The next week was the most stressful of my life. By day, I performed my new role with apparent enthusiasm, attending meetings, developing strategic plans. By night, Ellis and I worked tirelessly, following financial trails, gathering evidence, building an undeniable case against Helena, Imani, and their co-conspirators. Zoe had disappeared, family emergency, according to her assistant. Her absence only heightened my determination. When Helena called me into her office Friday afternoon, I knew something had shifted. The board is impressed with your transition, she said warmly. In fact, we'd like to accelerate your involvement. There's a special acquisition project we'd like you to lead. Acquisition project? I kept my expression neutral. Strictly confidential, of course. Helena slid a folder across her desk. Ascension Capital is considering a partnership with Lakeside Regional. They need someone with your analytical skills to identify efficiency opportunities. In other words, they needed someone to identify which services to cut, which assets to sell, which communities to abandon. I'm honored, I lied. When would this begin? Immediately. There's a meeting with Ascension's principals Monday morning. They're eager to meet the financial analyst behind that impressive operational strategy. I'll be prepared, I promised, accepting the folder. Helena's smile didn't reach her eyes. I know you will be. Monday morning arrived with a knot of anxiety in my stomach. The conference room, filled with board members, executives, and 3 representatives from Ascension Capital. Helena made introductions, ending with me. And this is Vega Mercer, our Strategic Initiatives Director, who will be guiding our efficiency analysis. The Ascension CEO, Maxwell, shook my hand firmly. Looking forward to your insights, Miss Mercer. Actually, I said, voice steady despite my racing heart. I've already completed a preliminary analysis I'd like to share today. Helena's eyebrows rose. I work quickly, I replied, connecting my laptop to the projector. The screen illuminated with a simple title, Ascension Capital, Rural Healthcare Elimination Strategy. The room fell silent. This isn't the presentation we discussed, Helena said sharply. No, I agreed. This is the presentation they didn't want you to see. What followed was 20 minutes of the most focused presentation of my life. I laid out the entire scheme, the systematic acquisition and dismantling of rural hospitals, the offshore accounts, the shell companies, the conflicts of interest. With each slide, faces around the table grew paler. This is absurd, Maxwell sputtered. Completely fabricated. Every transaction is documented, I replied calmly, clicking to my final slide. As regulators and journalists have already confirmed, the screen displayed email confirmations from the State Attorney General's office, the Healthcare Regulatory Commission, and the editor of the Healthcare Business Journal, all acknowledging receipt of my complete investigation package. What have you done? Helena whispered. Exactly what you promoted me to do. Identify inefficiencies and protect patient care. I closed my laptop. The Attorney General's Financial Crimes Unit should be arriving momentarily. They're particularly interested in the planned dismantling of children's services at Lakeside Regional. As if on cue, commotion erupted in the hallway. Through the glass walls, we watched investigators enter the executive suite, led by a grim-faced Zoe. Maxwell lunged for his phone. Helena sat frozen. Board members exchanged panicked glances. You had no right, Helena managed through clenched teeth. Actually, I had every right and obligation. I gathered my materials calmly. Oh, and Imani didn't betray you by presenting that revealing slide. She never actually reviewed the presentation she stole from me. Another efficiency opportunity missed, I suppose. The investigators entered the conference room, credentials displayed. As they began reading rights and confiscating devices, I slipped out, exhaustion and vindication warring within me. In the hallway, Zoe waited. You disappeared, I said. Had to. After I found those connections, someone accessed my computer. I went straight to the Attorney General with what I had. She squeezed my arm. But you built the entire case. How did you know they wouldn't stop you today? I didn't, but I knew they couldn't stop what I'd already set in motion. As executives were escorted from the building, Ellis appeared beside me. So, they said quietly, is it over? I watched Helena being led to a waiting vehicle, her carefully constructed power crumbling around her. It's not over, I replied. It's just beginning. Someone needs to rebuild what they tried to dismantle. 3 months later, I stood in that same conference room, now as interim chief operations officer, presenting a true strategic plan to a newly constituted board. A plan focused on rebuilding trust, restoring services, and remembering that healthcare isn't just about numbers, it's about people. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing wrongdoing. It's rebuilding what others tried to destroy, but better than before. It's proving that integrity, while sometimes the longer path, ultimately leads to the right destination. If you connected with Vega's journey of standing up against corruption despite overwhelming odds, please hit that like button to help others find this story. Your comments about similar workplace experiences or thoughts on healthcare challenges mean so much. They remind us why these stories matter. And if you want more tales of justice served with a side of strategic brilliance, subscribe for new uploads every week. Thanks for staying with this story until its rightful conclusion. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge is simply refusing to be silenced.